askreddit. What's an unfun fact? In 2014, the CDC once found a smallpox sample that they had lost and didn't even know it. It was just laying around in some random storeroom. Touching an AM radio broadcast tower will kill you, and not only will it kill you, but it will hurt the entire time you're dying. Number 1, the voltage is so high that your hands would instantly clamp to whatever charged part of the tower you touched. Then because it's oscillating at a frequency your cells can't feel, you wouldn't be able to feel yourself being electrocuted until it starts to heat your body from the current. And you'd also be able to hear your body acting as a speaker, where you'd literally be able to hear whatever was on that particular station as you die. The female tarantula hawk wasp stings a tarantula between the legs, paralyzes it, then drags the prey to a specially prepared burrow, where a single leg is laid on the spider's abdomen, and the entrance is covered. Sex of the larvae is determined by fertilization. Fertilized eggs produce females, while unfertilized eggs produce males. When the wasp larva hatches, it creates a small hole in the spider's abdomen, then enters and feeds voraciously, avoiding vital organs for as long as possible to keep the spider alive. After several weeks, the larva pupates. Finally, the wasp becomes an adult and emerges from the spider's abdomen to continue the life cycle. Suicide bombers are a lot easier to identify post-mortem than you'd expect. This is because the blast from the suicide belt hits the base of the head in such a way that the head pops off like a cork. Investigators therefore have a relatively intact head to ID. People who handle cockroaches develop allergies to them. This usually prevents them from drinking pre-ground coffee because of the cockroaches that get grounded in with the large batches. The youngest female to ever give birth was a Peruvian girl who gave birth to a child in 1933 at age 5. Yuck. I wonder who the man was? It's in the Guinness Book. Hey. Sorry for my English, but I saw the news of this in a YouTube video. The child was raped for her own grandfather. That brain-eating amoebas exist at all, and is also pretty commonly found in freshwater ponds and lakes. Apparently only 4 people have survived getting it in the last 50 years. I have a friend that got LASIK eye surgery, and then 2 months after she started getting eye pain and was losing her vision. I mention later in comments, but I think she cut it close and went swimming a little too soon. Somehow, a flesh-eating amoeba got into her eye via the eye flap left over from the surgery, and started eating her cornea. She was in serious pain and eventually lost all sight. Seems like they managed to kill off the amoeba, and then she got a cornea transplant. It was crazy. A human tooth has 36 calories. There are at least 8 nuclear weapons known to be missing. Tapeworms can grow up to 32 feet inside of you, and they eat half of what you eat. People used to consume them on purpose to lose weight. Medically safe? Or stupidly dangerous? Well, I'm not a doctor, but there was a horror story on Reddit where a girl ordered one of those fit teas from outside the US right before her wedding. She lost a ton of weight, and after discontinuing the tea she just kept losing and couldn't stop. On her wedding day she got explosive diarrhea and went to the doctor after, who informed her she had ingested a tapeworm through her fit tea. It's legal elsewhere, I guess, and they had listed the scientific name for it in the ingredients. I mean, obviously you don't write tapeworm right on the package. Scuba divers can experience a sudden change in pressure when swimming near pipes and will get sucked inside, doesn't matter the size of the hole. It's called delta P. Worst part? Someone else usually has to go inside the pipe to remove the body. When preparing a body for an open casket, the mortician will sew the person's jaw shut, to keep their mouth from flopping open, and place special contact lenses on the eyes lined with hooks, both to keep the eyelid from snapping open due to shrinking tissues, and to give the eye a bit more natural bulge, as the eye tends to sink into the socket after death. My father is a mortician who now works for a university, But during his time as a funeral director, he embalmed some brothers who were in a terrible accident. This was a few years ago when I was in high school. They had been run over by a car, exposing their skulls. The family wanted an open casket, so my dad had to make them look as presentable as he could. He said that he had to fill the skulls with something hard because, yeah, he managed to make them look good and the family was happy. It's an art, a lot of it involves makeup and craftsmanship to make someone look like they're sleeping, so as not to freak out the family. It's definitely not a profession for the faint of heart. As a nurse, I've encountered many stillborn babies that I had to get creative to make them presentable for the parents to see, hold and give a heartfelt goodbye. One time my nurse coworker came to me distraught because she just attended a C-section for a term stillbirth in which the physician had a difficult time delivering. The baby's head was essentially crushed from delivery and brain matter was spilling out. It was a bad scene and my coworker needed help making the baby look presentable for the parents. I just did what had to be done using tape and rolled cotton pontoons to get the baby's face to look normal. I swaddled the little babe as best I could and cautioned the nurse not to let the parents unswaddle the baby. They had the most precious time saying goodbye to their baby. Someone took pictures and they turned out beautiful. I was so sick to my stomach knowing that I had just pieced their baby back together but stood alongside smiling with the family about how beautiful he was. This is the PTSD nurses go through. I never talked it out, just went home and was grumpy with my family and sucked down a bottle of wine. Whenever anyone asks what I do and I tell them that I am a labor and delivery nurse, I just hear back about how lucky I am to work in such a great area. They have no idea. Thanks for letting me share. I lost a baby early in my 3rd trimester and had to deliver. The doctor warned of some physical issues such as swelling of the face. I didn't want to see the baby at first. I was young and terrified that I wouldn't be able to handle seeing him disfigured, especially since I figured it was all my fault somehow at the time. Later found out he had Downs. The nurse brought him to me swaddled a few minutes later and promised he was fine and didn't want me to have regrets down the road. I held him and am so glad I did and am forever grateful for her. She took pics, gave us a small box of mementos, footprints and the such. It all helped tremendously in the grieving process in the days ahead. And my children now can see a picture of their brother. Every unborn baby grows a mustache in the womb, which then spreads to cover the entire body. The baby then eats the entire hair called lanugo, and excretes it after birth with their first bowel movement, which is a substance called meconium. Deforestation in the Amazon got up 55% from January to April. When the gas chambers were first assembled and experimented with at the Auschwitz concentration camp, the SS soldiers that oversaw the process found that the people inside would start screaming as soon as the gas agent was dropped in. The screaming was so loud that it could be heard through the thick walls of the building, and the victims would continue screaming over the course of 20 minutes until it gradually faded to nothing. The screaming disturbed the soldiers, believe it or not, so they tried to think of a way to drown out the noise so they didn't have to hear it. Their idea was to get 2 motorcycles and rev the engines as loudly as they could at the same time during those 20 minutes. It didn't work. A man I knew spent 3.5 years in Nazi camps, aged 15-18. 2.5 years into it he was sent to the gas chamber line for being unproductive. He didn't have the energy to care. Everyone he loved was dead by then. While waiting in line, one of the other Nazi soldiers recognized him and walked up and slugged him in the stomach and shouted, "Get back to work," and pulled him out of line. A man I knew spent 3.5 years in Nazi camps, aged 15-18. 2.5 years into it he was sent to the gas chamber line for being unproductive. He didn't have the energy to care. Everyone he loved was dead by then. While waiting in line, one of the other Nazi soldiers recognized him and walked up and slugged him in the stomach and shouted, "Get back to work," and pulled him out of line. As dead bodies decay, they burp or release gases. For this reason, caskets and mausoleums need to be ventilated so that the gas can escape. Anyone can have a brain aneurysm at any age, no matter your health situation. I'll give you two. The most common cause of death for tall people is a heart attack, brought on by the fact that their hearts just naturally have to work harder than average to circulate all that blood through that larger body. Left-handed people are most likely to die in an accident involving a power tool, because they're all designed by right-handed people, for right-handed people. I'm tall, 6'6.5 or 1.98 meters, and I'm left-handed. Which one will it be for me? Edit. Yay, my first ever award. I got a yikes. Thank you, generous Redditor. Your voice on recordings is actually how your voice really sounds. Your voice in your head is a bit muffled and deeper, because the sound travels through your head instead of the air. That's why it feels weird to hear your own voice recorded. In my head I sound like Keanu Reeves, but in my recordings I sound like walrus squeaking.